Washira. I'm a mother of two. One is Josiah, he's 20 years old. And the other child I parent in my heart. I lost her at 10 weeks utero in the year 2003. I'm a woman that I think and I believe I'm living out my purpose. I want to say that I've been a human resource manager for very many years, and I've served the government of Kenya for 20 years in one organization. I knew that God was calling me into something to do with children and mothers, but I didn't know exactly what it was and how it's going to look like. I felt like I needed to get to understand more about breastfeeding. And why breastfeeding is because I had struggled with breastfeeding myself in 2002 and had my son. But I also knew and I also saw a lot of women struggling with breastfeeding as a human resource person. So I thought that was a good place to start. And I looked all around for a breastfeeding training in Kenya. EPI, Elizabeth Project International, popped up, and I went to the website and saw that they were having a training in Kenya. That was September of 2013. I registered and I looked forward to the training. The first lesson just opened my eyes to the struggles I had for myself when I had a failed lactation journey with my son. And for me, I knew that that's the beginning of what I want to do. After that training, I knew that there was something I needed to do with women and children. What I know now was that God didn't mean it to be a business. God meant it to be a ministry. And when I look back, when I look at EPI like a faith-based organization, there must be a lot of prayer put into it, in terms of how we need to equip people and go out and serve communities. And I took some time off and just reflect on why this training and what's my purpose in life. Now that you want to leave employment, what are you going to do with your life? And for me, there was a vague picture. And that's the time God ministered to me. And it's like, I'm not supposed to be in business. I'm supposed to be helping communities. God was sending me to the slums of Nairobi. There's a place in Kawangware. Someone just connected me to that place, and they would have their antenatal clinics every Wednesday. And I would go there every Wednesday, and I would meet mothers in their 30s, in the 40 numbers, in the 50 numbers, just coming to get information, breastfeeding. And there was so much reception of the information. The woman out there in the slum who doesn't have any information, she might not even have a smartphone, she might not even have anyone they can ask a question. So I saw there was a hunger and a thirst for breastfeeding education. And I took it upon myself to just volunteer in that particular community. And there's a beauty about that community in the slum areas. When they get information, they bring another one, So they would come in their twos, They would all come with someone, their neighbor who is pregnant, come and listen to this information. And they really soaked in a lot of information. So there's a big community around Kawangware area, which is a very large slum, that really benefited from just the skilling I got on breastfeeding and lactation. And I thank God for that. Because you are the person who was close to them, teaching them and finding out how they're doing. If the baby dies, you are the same person they call or they want to reach out to, because you gave them compassion, you walked with them, you understood them. So even when the baby dies, they kind of reach out to you. And I used to feel a bit helpless. But it's interesting that every time those mothers would reach out to me, they've lost their pregnancies or their babies, it would remind me of my own loss. Being in a community that don't validate those kind of losses, I had thought that I had dealt with it and had forgotten about it. So every time these women would call me up, they've lost a child, it would take me back to my own loss. And I knew that there's something I've not dealt with. God has so many ways of helping us deal with our own. And I remember Jennifer asking me, would you want to do a perinatal loss training? I gave her so many excuses because one, I was not able to afford to pay for that training. She told me she'll do it. She'll give me a scholarship. And I was so grateful she did. Like when God wants me to do something, He always provides, you know. And for me, that particular training was the beginning of my own healing. I had invalidated myself, and that was a platform for me to heal. I asked God that I really want to understand and hear what it is that He wants me to do. And it was very, very clear, again, that it was about mothers, their children, and their healing. God used me to heal parents. God used me to skill parents who are going through lactation, some of them who have lost children. God really used me. God was confirming to me what I'm called for. And in those 2 years, I called my years of wilderness, that God really used me to give out what it is I acquired from API to just serve my community. God was just using my experiences to minister to other people. I know that API has really helped me personally to just live out my purposes. When God is the center of an organization, when purpose, when destiny is, when healing is a purpose organization, it really makes a difference. Right now, I'm running an organization as the CEO of the Tears Foundation Kenya that was birthed out of my perinatal loss. I do it in honor of my daughter Neema, who I lost at 10 weeks utero. Neema means grace, so I do that in honor of Neema. It's an organization that also God just allowed me to meet in a very divine ways. And when I think about Tears Foundation, there are still footprints of API in it. Why? Because our chairman, who is a minister of the gospel, has been trained by API to be a perinatal loss counselor. When I came to register the Tears Foundation legally in Kenya as a foundation, I thought of him, and when I talked to him, he said yes. And that's when I knew his lost journey also. I see so many fingerprints of API, and I keep on telling Jen every time we meet, like God had placed you on my path. But I know that purpose, when God told me about women and children, He had a bigger picture. When you're on the ground, that's when you know that losses are many. You know, you can never see it from the surface, from the top. But once you start doing this work, that's when you realize mothers really lose babies every day, and they go unsupported for so many years. So perinatal loss is something that I know that has really shaken this nation. And it's something that has never been addressed. So I think for me, I know that that's where God is calling me in this time and season, just to heal families. And I'm so grateful that API was placed on my path, just to bring healing to my community and for me to live out my purpose. Running an organization that is limited in resources, there's so much that needs to be done. Like now when I think of Nairobi, we've hardly scratched the surface. There are women out there who have lost children, and they have no one. They don't even know that they're supposed to be grieving in the first place. We can be prayed for so that we get to those areas that we're not able to reach